Hello there everyone, welcome back to Dungeon Fog once again, and I kind of took a bit of a, what I did was, hear myself on my own stream, so what I did was I took a step further this time around, as we're going through these Dungeon Delver stream series thing that I'm doing here. I always like to try to kind of build the room with you guys. Well, this time I kind of just took a step further and I just sort of plotted out quickly what I think I'm going to be working with. I'll have to do a little bit of tweaking, as you can see here, but we'll get to that when we get there. Really what I wanted to do was just show you some of the new features that have been added, because Dungeon Fog is going to be launching very, very soon. Next Thursday actually, is when they are going to be launching officially. You can still make your pre-purchase accounts available now, but the game will be officially launching, or like the platform will be officially launching on the 25th of October. So be sure to sign in, and if you do sign in and create an account between the 25th and 28th next weekend, you actually get a really cool Red Dragon asset as well. So if you definitely want to get in on that, I would highly recommend that you set up your free account, log in during the 25th to 28th to claim your free Red Dragon ad set. So, where have we left off? Well, where we last left off was we were going through sort of the 5 rooms that make up a dungeon. So the first one obviously being the entrance with a guardian, where your players will come in and they'll meet some sort of opposing force that will prevent them from exploring the dungeon further. Also a reason as to why no one else has gotten beyond that point. So it could be like stone golems or something to that effect, or just a set of circumstances that maybe have prevented people from going there. Maybe there's talk of undead roaming the area, or a family's gone missing because of goblins and whatnot. So, bearing all that in mind, the Guardian is just a reason why your players wind up there and why nobody else has gone there before them, or if they have, why the problem in that particular area hasn't been solved. The next one is a puzzle or role-playing challenge. So in the second room, you're going to want to set up a reason as to why your players need to advance further beyond that. So they've conquered the Guardian either through role-playing or combat, and now they have to go through another set of series of puzzles and challenges requiring skill checks, and eventually meeting up with potentially other NPCs to do some role-playing and advance your story. So the third chamber that we're on right now is going to be what's called the trick or setback. And basically what you're doing in this room is you're raising the stakes. There's a particular set of circumstances that have gone wrong for your party. Either they're gearing up to fighting the big bad evil guy, which is going to be coming up in the next room, or they meet a group of NPCs and they need to be brought back to the surface, or they need to be returned somewhere, and they won't allow you to progress beyond this point until certain circumstances are met. This is a great way for fledgling dungeon masters and experienced game masters to force their players to expend more of their resources to making the rest of the dungeon a grind, or by forcing them to make very, very important decisions and being very careful about how they spend their continuing or remaining resources. So it's a great way to kind of bait and switch your players into fighting something a little bit outside of their level range, while at the same time making sure that you're not making this dungeon an entire cakewalk as well. And that brings us to where we are today. Now, before I get into more of the actual designing of the room, I just kind of want to show you here. You can sort of see how my previous level sort of ghosting over top of my current level. Well, if we went down to our levels and tabs here, they've added in a lot of new features. One of them being the allow ghosting for levels above. So if I actually deselect that, nice and clean. It's great if you're on previous levels, like if I jump back up to my ground level and then I didn't want to have my roof level, I could allow for it to pop up, or I could remove it, like so. You can kind of see it ghosting there. It may take a second to switch between the levels just to allow it to reload, but for our purposes, we're going to jump down to the Spider Caverns layer. And we're not going to allow ghosting for above this level. Actually, we will for just a second. Like, it's a great way to just turn off everything, and then if you're seeing multiple layers that you don't need, you can just deselect them. So I'm going to jump down to 130 view. We're just going to jump down here for a second just so I can see where my entrance was. As you can kind of see, it's right here. Little ominous and foreshadowing of the spiders yet to come. And so now we can start sort of building our level from there. So I'm going to go here to my assets, bring up some stairs. Spieling is important, kids. And we'll just have some stairs going up. Eep. Like that. And maybe just have them coming down like this. And then what I can do as well is I'll grab some rocks, taking off caps lock, and we'll just scale these down. Actually, we're going to rotate. Maybe 40 to like 70%. That'd be pretty good. And then we'll just make some random rotation as well, so we can just have them kind of like that. So all I'm really doing is just kind of recreating that cavern from up above. And then once I get that sort of set in place with a little bit of brushing, change that color to black, which is perfect. And then I'll just paint that in as well. There. Been watching way too much Bob Ross lately. You can kind of see a little bit underneath the assets there, but that's okay. Doesn't have to be perfect. This is your world. You can do whatever you want. So now that that's taken care of, now we can actually start building out this level proper. So I do have it set to cave right now. As you can see, all the wall segments do have that jaggedness to them. And we're going to have underground walls selected, or the level being selected underground. And then we can have, no, that can be, get my rocks again for just a second. And scale that down. Scale it down again. Just so I can actually block this section off so that players don't think that they can go around that way. Save it, because it is always important to save. We're going to turn off the ghosting, and then we're just going to start building it out like crazy. And actually, what I'll do before I go too much further into this level is I'm actually going to jump back up to the mines level here for a quick second and show you what I've done up here. So as you can see, I've played around a lot with the dynamic lighting. As you can see, I've made some areas light indicators, and other objects are light receivers, so yeah, I'm creating like a lot of shadow effects up and around here. Different things are giving off different glows of light. For some reason, these are... Do I have these as light receivers? I do, but there's no fire attached to it. Well, we're going to fix that. Good thing I came up here. Small fire. We'll just put that there. Put that there. And put that there. Get rid of that, get rid of that. Actually, get rid of that entirely. And then just put that up there like that. There we go. Fixed. Above the walls. So this is the problem that I was mentioning earlier. Because the assets work in layers, what you have to make sure is you sort of build from the bottom up, as I had mentioned in a previous video, that you want to make sure that you have everything layered out from the bottom up to the top layer. So if you have to go back and sort of change your assets around, I mean, you can always go to your layers tab and do this. So I'll just get rid of my lighting for a second. You can always go to your layer tab, go to your level, or sorry, stay in your layers and go to your rooms, select the room that you're working in, drop down to its content, and then you can start manipulating this. When you see these crosshairs pop up, you can actually start selecting specific assets and start moving them around sort of on this proprietary list, or you can lock them in place or hide them altogether. I really didn't get into too much of this because I knew what I was building, but now that I ran into this little problem here, I'm glad that we sorted that out. So thank you guys for pointing that out to me. And what else here? Oh, yeah. So if I get out of here, go away, and bring up my lighting tab, you can actually see that not only can I change the ambient lighting of the selected room, I can change the ambient lighting of the entire room, as in the entire set of rooms, or the stage, which is anything that exists outside of the rooms or walls that you've created. So just again to show you what that looks like, all of your ambient stage lighting there, some of the assets are changing on the inside, your room lighting changes. I'll just Control Z to get rid of that change. But what I really wanted to show you was this hide all lights. If I click that, now all of the map lighting assets, anything that's generating a light source, has now just been turned off so that I can build a lot easier, seeing everything a lot clearer. And then when I want to have my ambient lighting restored and all of my light fixtures restored, I can just deselect that, and it brings back and re-enables my dynamic lighting. So just something that you can sort of toy around with if you want to have assets that are in place that do create light and objects that have shadows to them. You can just build out your map first, and then like with this highlighted, and then you can jump in and start actually tweaking each individual light receiver and sender that way. So we're going to jump back down into our levels again, go down to the spider caves, and we're going to just shut off. Actually, since I have the allow ghosting for levels above deselected, it doesn't matter if I can see this level or not, because that overrides all of this, which is perfect. That's exactly what I want. So you can go away because I'm not using you, as can you, and let's just start building out some caves here. So one thing that you can do that I didn't show you when I was building walls and rooms is that if you press and hold shift, you can actually go off your grid lining and sort of build walls wherever you want. So rather than having everything snap to grid, you can now free build your walls anywhere you want, which is actually kind of neat. I only recently found out about this as the developer told me about it, so it's great that he showed me, and it's great for me to be able to show you guys this. So what we're going to do here is we're actually maybe going to come off the wall just a touch here, and then start building down maybe some walls like this. So ultimately what I'm trying to go for is creating a series of tunnels. And we'll probably make this just a little more linear, maybe creating some alcoves as we go. And as you can see, it's sort of highlighting in yellow all those areas that are probably going to show up when I actually finish the room. We're not going to really worry about that because I'm actually not going to complete this wall segment. And we'll just come down like that. And then trace back over all the walls that I made. So basically what I'm doing is I'm telling the program that yes, I want all these lines to be walls, but I do not want to create a room out of it, which is incredibly important if you're doing underground tunnels like this. Like that. Well, that didn't work out, did it? That's okay. We're going to fix that. We're going to go to rooms, unnamed room, unnamed room. We're going to select that. And then we're going to turn that not into cave walls, but we're going to turn it into normal walls. Ha! So I can actually see this built out a little bit better. Perfect. All right, let's get cracking. Go away. All right, so we're going to do some fun stuff here with some of these walls. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to come down here. Going to select this wall segment. I'm Let's turn that into a cave inside, cave outside, and set it up as a circular wall. That'll come in like this. I don't like either of those. Alright, so we're going to actually just change this around here like that. Circle. Ah, I see what it's doing. It's because I doubled back on all my rooms that it's actually creating a second room line. So we're not going to worry about actually changing any of these right now. I'll have to go back and just sort of toy with this a little bit. But what we will do is we'll move this around like so. As you can see, those two walls that I made sort of on top of each other are doubling over, which I don't entirely like, but no, well, it's there right now. So we'll have to leave it as such for the time being. I may come back and edit this map afterwards, fix up all the problems I don't like. So all I'm doing is just doubling back on all my walls so I can get rid of them. Like that. So how this is going to work then is I need to have the players come down like this. They're going to come around like that. And perfect. So what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to have this wall actually hidden instead. Whoa, now come back to me here. My map exploded. Okay, we're just gonna jump out of this. I'm gonna go back into here again. And it gets a little funky with all the different layers and levels, but that's okay. So I'm going to come down here to my layers, levels, jump down to my spider caves again, and pretend like none of that ever happened. Alright. So there we go. We're back again. Which is actually pretty good, because then I get to fix up all those walls that I didn't like. So let's go back to our rooms here. You know what? This might be the problem too. Maybe this natural stone isn't going to work right. Let's do that instead. Let's have our walls carved out of that instead. Maybe a little bit deeper, a little bit darker. And rather than cave walls, we'll have normal walls. And set our inner and outer wall thickness to a little bit thicker just to make it okay there. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to build this in sectional walls instead, rather than just one long tunnel. Or rather one long continuous eep. There we go. Nope. Aha! I'm trying to rush this for you guys too, and look what's happening! So all I'm doing is making sure to trace back over the walls that I've already done in red, and once they appear in red, then you know that you've got sort of a traceable wall. Now see, this is better. This is kind of what I should have been doing. Setting up confines like this, and then I'll just take that and I'll just slide it over just a bit, like so. Perfect. Well, perfect, but you know, good enough. And then we will build some more walls like so. We'll come down like that, like that, like that, and double back over like that. Perfect. Let's fix this wall here. Set it sitting up kitty corner like that. Perfect. So what I'm trying to do is just more create a linear path for everybody to follow. So partly this challenge is going to be having to deal with big angry bugs in a very short or small confine. Bearing in mind that each of my levels is, or each one of my grid spaces actually is about 5 feet. So what we're going to do is we're going to just block that off, and I'll deal with that in a second. And then, actually I don't want that. Have it like that instead. So when I come down like this, they're going to come down here like that. Perfect. So they go up, they go around, they go around, they go down. It's like a giant maze. And I love it. And again, just giving them sort of a linear path to follow. And that can drop them out here. Now I said I wasn't going to do very long wall paths, and here I am not taking my own advice. So have that cut across like that, up, over, like that, 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 there. So you can really see how fast you can sort of put something together. And then what I'll do is I'm going to have this blocked off like that. And maybe I'll figure out something to do with that room a little bit later. So the most important thing that you want to figure out when you're building a room like this, especially if you're trying to follow this 5 rules or 5 rooms to a dungeon kind of thing, is you want to give your players a reason to be here. But not only that, is you want to give them a reason for them to either have to leave or for some reason for them to have to backtrack. So we're going to kind of make it sort of a semi-dead end here, but we'll get there. And then what I would like to do is let's put some torches up. Right, because I have to go by torch. Let's grab some lit torches using Shift and the scroll wheel to spin them around a little bit or change their size. So because I haven't turned off the dynamic lighting yet on this level, anything that is generated as a light source will turn on as a light. So actually, let's just go and turn that off now so that I can just keep building without being interrupted and bogged down by lighting. Maybe part of this puzzle challenge too would be them to find out if there's a more linear path for them to go, or if they bump into a dead end, do they have to go around? Yeah, not very exciting this part, but that's okay, because all I'm really doing is plunking down all the assets here. You get sort of going when you do your room creation, but then when you actually get to asset building, it can take quite a bit of time. And what I'll show you just before we end our video as well is I'll show you a map that I've been working on for a little dungeon fog competition that I've been trying to be a part of, and I'll show you kind of what the end result of what a lot of decoration and a little bit of time on your hands, what kind of product you can really yield. Like, each of my streams so far has only been about maybe just a little over an hour, and I think we've come up with some pretty good stuff so far. So you can really see how if you're trying to do a big complex map, it can take time. But when you have a great idea or something you want to try out, there's no harm in just sort of playing around a little bit. Now you might be asking yourself, why exactly they have these kind of wall torches, and maybe there's an underlying civilization that has set up these kind of torches, or you can just tell your players they're like regular torches, only they're on the wall. But even just to show you the difference, I'll put these down because they just introduced jungle assets not too long ago. And I can put a couple down here. That'll throw some fire on afterwards. But I'm not really going to be putting anything underneath that layer. And if I do put anything over top of these torches, it's fine by me. So speaking of fire, let's get that going. Small fire. Perfect. So we'll get rid of that. Get rid of that for now because I'm not there yet. And then let's get some spider webs. Ooh, spider eggs too, yes. Actually, this is another thing too that they introduced, and that's this quick go-to asset library. That's actually surprisingly helpful. All you have to really do is just click down on this asset library button, and it actually brings it up for you. That's incredibly helpful. It makes it so that you don't have to go looking down on this tab anymore, down at the bottom for your asset library anymore. You just click that and it brings it right up for you. So I'm just going to bring up spider really quick. Bring up my decoration, and my spider webs are there too. Perfect. For some reason it doesn't have the black ones listed, so if I just go web, there's my black ones. Perfect. So this is going to be random rotation from 0 to 360, and random scale 40 to 70. And we'll just start by putting some spider webs through that they need to get past, like so. Maybe some more here. Definitely along the corners is kind of where I'm interested in putting them. It won't look like much now just because the lighting really sucks a lot of the atmosphere out, but you're going to see very quickly that, just as with the previous level, with a little bit of effort and a little bit of patience and a little bit of changed lighting, dead end, you can actually create something that looks rather unique. I want that cave inside, cave outside, and circular. No, I don't. Okay, so the circular walls aren't really cooperating with me all that much tonight, and I think I might know why. Might be because of these cave inside and outsides. Must have set that back to straight. I'll fix up all the walling in another video. You guys don't need to see all this, but rest assured that this is going to change as we get going. Actually, I might be able to do that down here, though. Let's split the wall right up here. Let's create a split wall. There. Tag this. Turn this into a circular wall. There we go. That's what I wanted. Push that out a smidge, like so. And we'll just set up some curved walls here. I think I know what I'm going to put down here already. Set that up as curved walls as well. Again, all I'm doing is just selecting the wall segment and then changing its type under the wall segment tab to whatever I want. So if I want to change it again, I just highlight that wall segment that I'm working on, and then I can start manipulating it again. Now, personally, I prefer the circles just because I do, but that's okay. We're going to split this wall again, because what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do sort of the same thing that I did earlier with the other wall. So we're going to split this again because we're going to do this a couple of times. Split it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wall up here, turn that into a circle, And then whoops. That's really too high on the percentage. I did not want to do that. Yeah. Yeah, this is what happens when you have slippy fingers. All I'm trying to do is just pull it out some like that. Like that. So all I'm doing is just trying to push the walls further inside. Maybe with that one, instead of doing a circular wall, what I'll do is I'll make it a curved wall instead. There we go. And we can just push it in like that. So your curved wall tool is great for pushing things around like that. Makes it really useful. We can even do the same thing down over here as well. I'll just curve it. Kind of like that. And let's go back to putting our spider webs down. So I'm actually going to zoom in to, let's go 120. Like so. And get our spider webs back up again. And I will just go back to keeping my rotation and my scale as a random, so that I can just start putting these guys down wherever I want. What I'll do is I'll put some down in the corner as well. And just in case the players think that they're going to be okay, I'll turn the rotation from 0 to 360 to 90, like that. So just in case my players think that they're doing okay, what I'm actually going to do is throw a little bit of foreshadowing that maybe they're heading into a bad scene here. So if I just throw a couple of eggs down here, maybe a couple of egg pods here, they'll see this as they're passing through, unless I decide to, conceal them, which is an option that I can do if I want, but I won't. And then actually for this one I will. So I'll conceal this one. And you can see how it stays sort of hidden, which is perfect. So I can make a little alcove of hidden spider eggs down there. This was actually introduced when they updated the door tab. So now that you've got a lot more door options. You can have it so that they need keys. You can conceal them. They can be trapped walls. They can snap or not snap to grid, mirror the horizontal and vertical, as well as be cut out into the wall. And I'll show you how that looks right now. So you see it's selected as cut out into wall. I can actually come up to a passage, let's say, and then cut it there. And once it loads, it should just cut out into the wall. Could just be a graphical thing, but it looks really cool. You'll see it on the other map because my other map that I'm going to show you just before we're done here is actually, it has that, so you'll be able to see a little bit more of what I'm talking about. And we're going to go back to my assets, and we're going to get my spider eggs going again. There we are. Shrink them down just a bit to start. One there. One there. One there. I'm going to do something cool down here. Well, I think it's cool anyway. We need some more spider webs, though. Not nearly enough spider webs. Like that. And even though I have it random, I do want specific rotations. So I'm just holding Shift and using the scroll wheel to move things around. I've got something planned for this as well. And I'll just put that over top. And put that over top as well like that. Perfect. All right. Bring back my assets again, and we'll go cage. Cage with a skeleton. No, I actually don't want the road to rotate the... So what did I have you set as? What are you? 180 and 70. Perfect. So then I'll bring up my cage again. I'll go my 180, 70 like that. Perfect. And I'll just set up that. Scale it down just a bit for maybe like a kid. There. Like that. Set up another wall. So what I can actually do is set up a wall like that. Come on. There we go. And then we'll put a bar here that needs a key. Set that up right there. Man, just have to give it a second. It's because I'm streaming that it's taking a little bit longer for it to load. All right. We're going to get rid of that. Actually, no. We'll keep that, but I'll change how that lighting's going to work. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put... Come down here. Get my spider eggs again. And this is where I'm going to have my rotation and my scaling back up again. And that's perfect. That's perfect. Actually, we'll make them a little bit bigger. We'll go up to about 70. Again, it's just a little slow, and that is just, again, because I am streaming while doing this at the same time. If I were doing this just on my computer sans streaming, this would be a lot faster. It's just because it's trying to process me placing assets down, and when I do my maps, I make them incredibly complicated and very detailed. This is a little bit lax just because what I'm showing you guys is I'm working through the different types of rooms in your dungeons and how you can actually utilize that 5 sort of dungeon structure to make a very, very easy setup, layout, and one-off for your players. So what we're going to have here is just a little spider layer here. Break out that. And this will be sitting over top. Just a few spider webs. Now you can treat this just as decoration when you're planting these, or you can actually treat it as obstacles that and obstructions that they need to go around. I'm less concerned about that with the spider webs. It's more just to kind of show decoration, but those spider eggs are definitely obstructions that if they are not careful, the players will definitely trigger that and interact with that, and that's not a good thing. Do I have a cave-in? I do have a cave-in. Perfect. So what I can actually do is put in a cave-in sort of here. Have a cave-in like that. Go back to my doors. Set up a, not needs a key for a passage, but a trapped passage. And I'll show you how this works here. So when I jump in like this, I set up my trapped passage. And when it populates, it's actually going to glow or show up as red, showing that it's trapped. Now, you can have that mean one of two things. You can either have that as a trapped door, as in it is barricaded, or you can also have it as a trapped door that it is booby-trapped. Now, that's up to you to decide how you want that door to interact, but essentially what I'm saying is that I want this to be a trapped passage, as in normally you could go in this way, but it's been blocked off. And I think we're doing okay right now. Let's see here. Let's bring up my brush for a second. Go over to my textures and bring up my water, shimmering green water. Come back down here, bring up my softness just a touch, definitely my thickness a lot. And then I'll just have it so that spider eggs are nesting on sort of a little island. Players are going to have to get across that as best they can. Like that. Perfect. And again, if you spill over the edges when you're painting, that's okay because it automatically gets cut off. It will show up as part of the brush texture. No, surprising it doesn't. How about that? Gets cut off by the wall. That's perfect. That's genius. That's exactly what I want. All right. Now where was I? Do I want any torches in here? I don't think so. No. Because spiders have dark vision anyway, so they don't need torches. That, and we'll go rocks again. We'll go pile of rocks. Scale that down like so. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create sort of another little cave. Now, I'm a big fan of creating underground caves by using these rock piles and just sort of creating a mass of rocks here. You don't have to do it this way, but this obviously is what's going to generate and slow down your performance just a bit with the more assets you put in. So you may want to opt to not going quite as crazy if your computer is just not up to snuff. And again, what I will do is I will paint black as such and just have that sit like that. Dunk. Perfect. Actually, come out around underneath all this. So now it's black all underneath, as you can see there, and that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. Whee! Oh, just wait. If you think it's having graphical surprises now, just wait till I actually change it down and turn all the dynamic lighting back on. Oh boy. Okay, like I said, like this program is phenomenal. Like I'm very, very much impressed with this program and everything that it's able to pull off. I think it's fantastic. I tend to push it to its upper limits whenever I do a map, just because I can, because I like to push this thing to the limits to see what it can handle, and it's been really good up till this point. Again, I make really, really detailed maps, so a few latency issues are more than understandable. Of course, that also depends on your internet, your browser, and your RAM as well. Like, there's a lot of other performance things that come into play, not just the program. So, but they're updating everything and they're optimizing everything all the time. Till and his team have done a phenomenal job with what they've been trying to accomplish. Now, this is going to be fairly linear. I'm going to gussy this map up a little bit afterwards. I like to try to keep these streams a little bit about an hour or so. So I'm not really going to be pushing this particular image too much longer, but just rest assured that this is going to be the chamber where I'm going to have them fight a semi-big bad. It could be not a spider matriarch, but maybe a couple of spider guardians. So not quite the big bad, but something that's going to push them to the limits. Plus, if they break any of these eggs, they could trigger spider hatchlings. And even though it may not seem like the hatchlings would be particularly difficult to kill, the issue then becomes is that they're going to have to burn resources all the way through, and it becomes a real crawl up to this point. They're going to have to find a key for this, and maybe they have to go deeper and then come back because they can't quite see fully what's in this room. Or they want to try to break this open and they don't have a pickaxe, so they have to go back up to the next level, get a pickaxe because they didn't bother grabbing one because they didn't think they would need one. So what you want to do is you throw in a couple of just side areas, and even though this is relatively open, like I said, I'll be playing with this and gussying it up a little bit more, but don't ever be afraid to just have something a little bit linear and just keep throwing stuff at your players too. It creates a bit of a grind, yes, but that's partly what this, or that's the main reason what this level's for. It's to make them waste their resources before they go deeper. So they really have to evaluate the choices that they make. So one thing more that I will do just before we're done here is I will toy with some dynamic lighting. We are going to take off the hide all lights. Perfect. My stage lighting, I'm going to bring that right down, and my room lighting, we're going to bring it right down as well. Oh, that's perfect. Perfect. Save it. Whee! All right. So all of these walls are going to be blocking stuff, which is perfect. That's great. We're going to delete that light source because we don't need it. And we will have this go. So now this is another thing that they've added too, is the prop shadows. So the actual light receivers themselves, you can actually add or remove their prop shadows as well. It really isn't noticeable on most of these objects, and I tend to just sort of leave it on. But it just gives you that extra level of customization if you don't want the light source itself to have a shadow, if it doesn't make sense for the light source to have a shadow. So in this case, fire itself having a shadow, unless it's being gleamed off of another thing, wouldn't really create a shadow. So you can actually turn that off to create just one extra level of realism for your maps. Realism fighting giant spiders. We're going to turn the luminosity right down. I don't muck around with the hue too much. I usually leave the colors more or less what they default to. But we'll bring that right down as well. So someone or something planted these torches down here, but the players won't know what until they get there. And we'll bring that down to 50. And we'll have its range go to maybe 175. So it should kick out to just about here-ish. Yep, that's not too bad. Bring that down to 50 as well. So all I'm really doing is I'm just going through and I'm just going to turn down the luminosity or the power or brightness of all these different light sources. The range is more or less okay, except for this one here. So this one will be maybe 70%. And I'll have this range sit at 200 instead. So it should catch up to here. And you can see the shadows being created by that wall there. It actually blocks that, creating a shadow, which is perfect. Now that shadow can be eliminated if I bumped up the range on that one. But I'm not going to. I want this one dialed right down. So that's going to be at like 30% there. And have it just barely visible, so 40 on its range. So it's barely going to be outside of it. Yes, that's perfect. That light source is going to stay at 100%, but then can hit maybe 250. Should bring it up to just about here. Perfect. Now you know what, we'll bring it down to 50. Excellent. That down to 50. This isn't particularly interesting, but what I'm just showing you guys is that there's a lot of different ways that you can interact with your props, and Dungeon Fog is just adding more and more and more all the time. So you really get a chance to delve in and make some rather interesting map setups and creations. And it's all just a matter of thinking about what kind of map you want to build, and then just going to town. But even then, you can see the top level was just a house, right? And then I started to sort of expand into this underground network of mines and caves and things like that. So really what you want to do is you want to try to capture a theme, I think, when you're building a map. Is what kind of encounters are you wanting your players to go through, and what kind of obstacles do you think that you could throw in the way to make that a little bit more enjoyable and a lot more excitable? And for me, creating a little mining community that ended up getting overrun by goblins that are going to be sacrificed to a spider god, well, for me, that works. So now I just have to make sure that every layer, and when I say layer, I mean like level of my dungeon, reflects that. Utilizing all the different tools at my disposal as far as props, lighting, and room building to create something that looks a little bit more impressive. And now what I will do is I'll go back and I'll grab all these room tabs and I'll turn them into proper caves as well, so that it looks a little bit more like an actual cave setting and not just like wooden beams everywhere. But really, I just wanted to cap this video off here, and just before that, I will save this. I'm going to fix that by going to my levels tab again and highlighting all of my levels. I'll allow for ghosting. Perfect. Go to my main level. Hide that. Go to my, hide that, perfect. Gel. No, I'll hide that. Perfect. Keep it like this for now. Excellent. All right, so we're going to abandon our Dungeon Delver streams for just a second. We're going to come back out to our main tab here. This is a map that I've been working on as part of my tutorial series that I'm doing for Dungeon Fog. That if you want to check that out, I do post them on my YouTube channel, where I'm going to be throwing this video up afterwards. And more importantly, check out the tutorial videos that I'm doing. It really it hones in more on what I'm trying to accomplish here, and it spends a lot more time going into all the different nuances rather than just glossing everything over really quickly. I actually take some time and show you how each of the things that I'm working on actually properly interacts and how you can do different things with them. So even though I was talking about doing the curved walls and the circular walls on this map, one of my later tutorial videos for advanced wall editing actually deals with that, and you can see, even just as a preview down there, you can actually see how that all pans out and interacts. So this is the map that I was going to be working on for the competition, which I'm due on Saturday, I think it is. The 20th? 20th is a Saturday? Pretty sure it is. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. This is the Chapel of St. Sebastian Haddock. This is a horror-themed, Halloween-themed, undead-themed map set to something that is not too dissimilar from the Abbey of St. Markovia, but is, I tried to make it a slightly different. It's not as big, not nearly as big as the Abbey of St. Markovia is, but I took a lot of inspiration from that to try to recreate something that I thought was rather, not necessarily unique, but just more focused on the occult and the undead, as opposed to something that's a little bit more twisted and more Dr. Frankenstein-y, a la the Abbey of St. Markovia. So one of the cool features that they've also introduced is the page up, page down to go through your layers. So if I just hit the page down button, I can actually cycle through all my different layers here. I'm actually going to go to my layers tab specifically and just turn off the ghosting. And you can see my underground, my main level, this little executioner block, some gardens, Little barracks with a mess hall on top, and my abbey proper. My dear abbey. And some roofs, and roofs. I'll save it even though I didn't really change anything. But that's it, guys. That's it for now anyway. Like I said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to tool this map just a little bit more just to get it to where I want it to be. But at least for now, we started building what's going to look like a rather interesting dungeon crawl for your players to work through hordes and droves of spiders to get to spider guardians that are going to bring them down into the next part of the dungeon, which is going to be the encounter with the BBEG, or the Big Bad Evil Guy. This is going to be the mother of the battle. This is what your players and party have been gearing up for, and what you've been trying to stall and delay and drain them for the last probably 3 rooms. So, and even still, getting to the boss might not be that easy in the next room either. So you'll have to tune in next Dungeon Delver streams, and we'll go into a little bit more detail about how we set up that room and get all that taken care of. But thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next stream.